All right. What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. Hope everyone is having a fantastic week. Had a good, relaxing weekend. I know I did. I got to go and have a nice strategic weekend with my partner, Max, up in the Northwoods of Wisconsin. We have a ton of really, really exciting things coming your way. But today, Ben and I have a special training that we wanted to put together for you. Over the last couple of weeks, if you're brand new to this group, every single Monday, we go live in this group to teach you what's working right now in terms of patient acquisition, because it's something that evolves constantly. We are always investing in ads, doing more research to always bring you the best stuff that's working right now to help make your practices more scalable so you can focus less on worrying where your patients are coming from, a little bit more on delivering a world-class experience and expanding your impact within the community. So what we're going to be doing today isn't talking about Facebook ads per se. What we're going to be talking about is something I honestly believe is far, far more important, something that every single person in this group needs to have a strategic plan for. And so today we're going to be covering the preconditions to scale. Before you can start even thinking about growing and expanding your practice and your impact and adding on to your services, you need to make sure that you have things systematized in such a way that if you bring people on, people know what they are needed to do, what their metrics are that they need to be able to hit, and so that you can make predictable decisions with your business and actually maintain or retain the people that you do bring on to help scale your practice. So today it's going to be very much an interview with Ben, because Ben won't toot his horn too hard, so I'm going to do it for him. But over the last couple months, he has hit record revenue numbers month after month. 2 months ago, he did about $68,000 within his practice. And last month, he brought on a new PT and he brought in nearly $91,000, breaking the 7-figure practice mark for the first time, I believe, right, Ben?
Yep. First month hitting that mark. So I just got to sustain it. So I'm pumped.
Everyone give Ben some love, because I mean, the fact that he's able to be a world-class coach within our program, run 2 locations, and have time to have any semblance of a social life is absolutely amazing. So I thought, what could possibly be more valuable than bringing Ben in here to talk about the exact things that he had to make sure were in place in order to continue to scale his practice at the rate that he is. Because a lot of people, when they come into me and Ben's world looking for better ways to get patients in the door consistently, it's usually because they made a hire and they're not able to get them busy. And so they actually take a hit in revenue, whereas Ben increased it significantly. And so that wasn't just luck. That was by design entirely, because Ben has different people in place, systems, and processes to make sure that when he does scale, when he does turn up that lever, everything is going to continue to work just as he designed it to. So Ben, appreciate you being here. As always, man, I'm willing to share some of this gold.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. So yeah, I mean, I can talk about this topic all day on how to scale and whatnot. I want to give you guys some actionable stuff I found to be super helpful. And I think the big first step that people have to take before they scale is getting their mindset right and figure out why do you want to scale? For me personally, I wanted to scale. Yes, revenue was definitely a big piece on why I wanted to scale, but I also wanted time freedom. I was stuck in this place where I was doing literally everything. Now I've got somebody that does my social media. I got PTs. Now I got front desk, and now I can just work on delegating everything. So it's just more about making the business decisions and delegating this out and freeing up my time, because I was at the point where I was a solo practitioner and I was working 70, 80 hours a week, and it was. Now I still work around the same hours, but it's because I choose to. I want to, because this is what I love, and that's the big thing, is the choice. I could get by with working half that amount and still have the practice growing and whatnot. But the difference is now I get to choose to work that much as well, and that's due to the fact that I've hired out and systematized things and got it more automated. So things can run, and I'm hundreds of miles away from our main location in Oakland, where we've hired on and have 3 full-time PTs and a front desk and social media specialists and all that too. So doing it from afar as well. So the big thing is mindset. Figure out what's your motivation to scale. Is it time freedom? Is it financial freedom? You also have to know, do you want to be able to, do you want to have to manage people? It's not for everybody. And that's a big piece that I'm working on learning and continuing refining and repeating. Rinsing and repeating is how to better manage everyone as well, because that's a new skill that you have to develop. So really dig deep and figure out, what's your main motivation to scaling. Figure out why. Again, it always goes down to your why and all that too. So ask yourself that: why do you want to scale? Is it revenue? Is it time freedom? Is it something else? You can also help a lot more people. I realized that I was going to cap out after 30, 35 patients. That's as many people as I could help. And so it's like, if I want to help more people, I have to expand and bring more people on. So that's the first step. It's mindset. Second is making sure that, and this is where a lot of people, I think, get tripped up, is bring on somebody too early when it's not gonna be able to support their metrics, their business metrics, and their profit margins. All right. So when it's just yourself, you're probably most likely your biggest expense is rent, right? But when you start bringing on employees, you're going to be bringing on a totally new, different expense. That's going to be your number one. Our number one expense is payroll. Okay. And when you bring on an employee, that's what's going to happen, is your payroll costs are going to go up. It's just the nature of the beast. So you have to be able to, if I don't want to go too much of a tangent here and backtrack, but if I started bringing a PT on when I was at my normal rates, when I first started out, I wouldn't have been able to support it. The business would not have healthy metrics. What do I mean by healthy metrics? So healthy metrics, what I do is go by word for word, page by page on profit first. If you guys haven't read this book, definitely encourage you guys to. It's really everything what I've done. Everybody asks me, like, financially, how do you make decisions? It all goes down to the book Profit First. And so healthy margins are, you should have 15%, around 15% left over after expenses, after you're paying yourself, after everything, month after month in your business. If you start going below that margin, it's indication of an unhealthy business, in my opinion. And so we always make sure that we're at that, we're around that 15%. Do we take a little bit of a dip when we initially hire somebody on and building somebody's caseload? Yes, but we usually just dip right around to 12.5%. But then over time, we're back up to over 15% just in 2 or 3 weeks with that. So big thing is looking at your profit margins, because like I said, you're gonna have a totally new expense, different expense. And I want to bring on the best PTs, and I want to pay to bring on the best help and all that too. I need to be able to pay them well, right? So you need to be charging what you're worth. And making sure that after the end of the day, you're also, as you expand, you're bringing in more revenue too. Okay, you don't want your expenses and your income just to cancel each other out. Okay, so make sure that your rates are at what they need to be able to sustain that healthy profit margin as well. When we bring somebody on, we're aiming to keep for how much they generate per hour. They are right around between 25 to 30% of whatever they generate. So that's a healthy margin, what we aim for as a business, and keeps everything nice and healthy. So those are some important metrics that we look at, and hopefully some actionable stuff. I hate when I hop on webinars and all they do is just try and, make a pitch to you, like, without actionable stuff. I want to give you guys actionable stuff today that you guys can really take home. So big key pieces is looking at making sure your profit margins, you got that 15%, and then also making sure that you're able to support, paying your PT around 25 to 30% of whatever they generate. Okay. If your rates are too low, that 25 to 30% isn't going to be enough to attract high quality PTs and all that too. Okay. So those are some things to really, really look at before hiring. And then also making sure that you can sustain and bring on a new PT and keep their caseload full. And that's one thing that's been awesome, is the Facebook ads to help have another predictable source of new patients coming in week after week, month after month as well. So making sure that you have a track record. Look at your past 3 months. How many new patients? How many net patients? Not just new patients, because you got to remember, there's also patients that are being, completing their plan of cares, or, dropped off, or weren't good fits for whatever reason. You can't just look strictly at new patients, because that doesn't tell the whole story. How many patients are you losing on that back end? You got to take that, subtract that, figure out what your net difference is there, and that will paint a picture on if you're ready to hire as well. So we have a full-time PT, sees 35 patients a week for us. So we want to be able to see week after week at least month after month, around 10 new patients a month at least, to be able to support that. That would get us to that 30 Okay. So when we brought on our last PT, we were well above that. We were actually at, I think, right above, I think we were around 23, 24. So that told me that, hey, I'm really comfortable with bringing on a new PT, and I know that I'm gonna be able to support their caseload, because it's scary. It's scary hiring somebody on and not knowing if you're gonna be able to fill their caseload. And so having a nice system in place, or a track record of the last 3 months showing month after month that you're able to do this, and that the trends most likely continue there too. So I know that was a lot of information and just word vomited there, but yeah, I don't know if you have any follow-up questions on any of that before I kind of move forward.
Of course I do. Of course I do. That was gold. So everyone who's on here right now, if you haven't started, start taking notes right now, because Ben's not holding anything back, and he's dropping stuff that normally you have to pay us at least $5,000 to learn.
This is information I've spent like thousands of dollars on acquiring. So definitely don't just brush us off, because it's information that is super beneficial, and it also took some trial and error to figure some of these things out too. So learn from my mistakes and learn from the money that I've invested on business coaching and stuff and all that too. So but again, this is what I found to work. Not saying it's gonna work for everybody, but this is what I found and know it's working for a lot of other people too.
Love it. That was such a good setup for the rest of this call. So everyone who's watching, we're going to dive deep into how exactly Ben has been doing this stuff, and a little bit about the story behind how he came to this, because everyone always sees the successful practice owners, successful businesses, and just think they have it figured out. And Ben and I, before this call, were just laughing at how much we literally are just winging it all the time. It's trial and error. And this whole group, this whole training, the whole point of all this stuff is to help you skip the learning curve and learn from our mistakes. So if you guys are watching this, comment live. If you're catching the replay, comment replay, because we want everyone in this group to benefit from this training, because this is going to get deep in the weeds on how you can make sure that your practice is not just growing rapidly, but doing so from a place of scalability. When you do add a new PT and do add 20 new visits a month, the whole system isn't going to crash. You need to have these systems and processes in place. Otherwise, you are going to learn the hard way. You're going to lose people. You're going to have to start over. And as Ben has said, and what we're definitely going to get into, is the most expensive thing in the world is replacing somebody. And if you don't have these things in place, you're going to be pretty upset that you didn't watch the rest of this training and take notes. So what I'm going to be digging into with Ben here is 3 primary categories. One, I'm going to dabble in mindset, because that's actually one that I completely skipped, which I think is so incredibly important. You got to know what it is you want on your business, because not everyone wants $1 million practice. Some people just want a couple patients a week, keep them busy, and spend the rest of the summers hanging out with their kids during their athletics and stuff. Maybe that's not you. So that's super important. But the 3 primary categories I'm going to dig into today is, number 1, people. How to figure out who to bring on first, why to bring them on, and how to do it. Then also the systems and the processes that need to be in place before we even start going after those people, to make sure that as you add on people, you don't increase your own workload by having to manage all these people. How do you get people so they can operate themselves, they know their expectations are, and the machine can run smoothly, so to speak. So we're going to dive into this stuff. So anything to add on that, Ben, before we kind of dive into the meat?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important to make sure that your systems are in place. When you bring somebody on, what does that training look like? Do you have that documented? Do you have all your systems documented so somebody can stop in and be able to, it's kind of turnkey, and be able to, pick up where you left off. If it's patient care, if it's, front desk, if it's sales calls, inbound calls, cancellation policy. You have to all these things. You can't be wishy-washy on certain things. So I'm going to enforce the cancellation policy sometimes and sometimes not. You have to have clear, defined, systems in place for somebody to follow. Okay, so I think that's can be a lot of big headaches as well. But yeah, I'll kind of talk about how we train our PTs and kind of the system that I built out before I brought on my first PT down here in a little bit too. So.
Yep. No, it's absolutely crucial, man. So let's figure out where people are at in this group. First of all, I'm curious, Ray, David, good to see you guys on here. Amen to systems. And Ray knows absolutely everything about systems, has a fantastic software company that is extremely efficient at systematizing things and documenting. And that's something that might have to get him on here and talk about eventually. But I want to know where people are at, because there's a lot of different goals that people might have within their practice. Maybe you just want to treat a few people just because you love doing it, and you want to focus on growing another side of the business. Or maybe you want to grow the 7-figure practice and you want to be the CEO. I want to know, do you guys want to continue treating yourself, or do you want to be the CEO within your business? And how would you identify yourself, Ben?
Yeah, so I'm completely out of not completely out of patient care. Still seeing a few patients here at this location, but I want to be completely out, because what my passion lies is in being the CEO and making those decisions and that too. So, and there's not anything wrong. Like do you have to be all CEO and no PT, or patient care? No, you can be like a hybrid of that. That's the great thing. That is when you get, it's your business. You can make it whatever you want it to. So I want to help you guys with the training today too, to figure out, let you know that you can do, it can be hybrid. It doesn't have to be all or nothing as well. So sometimes the sweet spot's the best for most people. It just depends on, again, getting to your why and why you're doing this. So.
Yeah. So I think just to be able to keep everything clear and to the point and remove as much ambiguity as humanly possible, let's talk about today. Assuming everyone on this call wants to be the CEO, they want to make the biggest impact they possibly can. They want to have teams to be able to delegate things to, so that their mind can be focused on the creative vision, being able to create the absolute best product and service within their community and change their clients' lives as much as humanly possible. And now, in order to do that, from my perspective and from our level of business, I want to know how it relates to yours and how you went about this process. But the main things that we need to outsource or to be able to delegate within our business is sales and marketing, fulfillment on the service that on what we're delivering, and then being able to actually manage the finances and the day-to-day to make sure that from an operational perspective, we're actually able to do the things that we're working towards fulfilling on. So to me, those are the primary things I have to delegate so I can focus on delivering the absolute best service humanly possible. Now, how does that reflect back into your practice? And what are the first positions that you start to look at delegating?
Yeah, so you can go back and forth with this. I'm just going what I found to work for me and what allowed me to scale so quickly was, some people argue that you should bring on a front desk. Some people argue that you should bring on a PT. I brought on a PT first. I look back and I'm like, would I've done it differently? No, because I'm actually not very happy with where I'm at and the position I'm in. But also, big reason I brought on PT is because it was very convenient I found the ideal perfect fit. It kind of landed in my lap and I went with it. And yeah, so hired on a PT and started offloading my patient care to be able to kind of focus on other things from there too. So, but you can go about it different ways as well. So I just know, and a lot of people don't realize this, as how important that front desk is, and it's really the lifeline to your business. Because if you can have the best PTs, but if you don't have somebody in place that can do the sales exactly as well as you, your business is going to suffer as well. So I was a little bit more reluctant to hand that off. I knew that, I honestly think it's easier to bring on a PT and get them trained than actually to train the front desk and get them to do as good of a job too. So I was reluctant to hand that off as well. Got a great front desk now, but it's actually more extensive. I do more extensive training with my front desk than I actually do with my physical therapist, because they really truly are the lifeline of your practice. So I was more hesitant to hand that off. And that's why I brought on a PT and all that too. So.
Excellent. So let's say someone other than yourself is working to grow their practice. They're not as big of a sales beast as you are. Because you are an absolute animal when it comes to sales. I mean, he's able to sell his services for twice as much as anyone around him, and he's still scaling at the rate that he's scaling. So let's say you're a PT that isn't as strong at sales, but they're really incredibly good at the clinical side of things. How do you go about finding and training a good front desk person?
Yeah, so it's really investing in sales training yourself. I don't think it's fair for somebody to be like, oh, I suck at sales, so I'm going to hire on a front desk to do it. You have to be able to do it yourself and be able to effectively train them. You have to know how to do that to be effectively trained, right? So you have to invest in sales training, and that's one of the things I have invested in most heavily, was sales, because we don't get taught as PTs. We don't get any of that in school, and yeah, it's really truly the lifeline of your business, because if you can't communicate effectively how you can help somebody, it doesn't matter how good of a PT you are, they're not going to work with you. So
Yes.
yeah.
And if anyone watches a bunch of my videos and can say the clinical marketer motto around I'm going to use not the same words, on how to delegate things properly. If you know exactly what that phrase is and you can comment it in the chat below, the first person who does it, we will build out your ads for you. We'll just build them out. If anyone knows the phrase that goes along with what Ben just said. We'll let that marinate overnight as people catch the replay to figure out if anyone gets it. I'm not going to say it, but you nailed it, man. You can't effectively hire or delegate for something unless you have some level of understanding or some sort of process for it. So I think that's absolutely genius. If people do have questions about sales and stuff, definitely comment on this thread, because we'd love to do more training around sales and get Ben in this group a little bit more in his zone of expertise, because he is a freaking machine with this stuff. So if you guys would like to get more sales training from Ben, comment sales in the chat, and we'll make that stuff happen. So you obviously covered a little bit about the financial necessities before you bring on a PT and kind of like what to hire on, but what do you actually need to have from a system standpoint in place to be able to make sure that not only that you can bring on premium talent, but that premium talent is going to want to stick around and they're going to know what's expected of them? Can you walk us through a little bit about the types of things that people should have in place before they go about looking for that PT?
Yeah, so it also goes on to, and this will be a little bit of a tangent, but how you find that PT is also a big piece of the puzzle too. Who are you attracting? And what is your posting that, like, for example, we have like postings on Indeed, LinkedIn, and different postings in Facebook groups. And if you're just saying like, yeah, I'm looking for a really energetic, highly motivated PT that wants to deliver high quality care, this is a job for you. You're speaking to every single PT, right? Not every PT is a good fit and who I'm looking for. So you have to make sure your posting speaks to your ideal person that you want to bring on first and foremost, so you attract the right people to fit into your systems as well. So I think that's a big key piece that a lot of people look over. And I think that's why a lot of people have a hard time finding PTs. I see it all the time in these groups that they're having a hard time hiring. We have like 2 or 3 applicants literally almost every week. We have at least like, even though we're not actually hiring, I still got it going on the back end system. We had two people that applied last week, and we have that just on the back burner. It's because we speak directly to the person that we're looking to bring on. Okay, just go same thing with when you're speaking to trying to attract patients. If you try and market to everybody, you speak to nobody. It's the same thing with bringing on PTs as well. If you want to attract high quality PTs, you have to be able to speak to those high quality PTs and their pain points. They want to provide high quality one-on-one care. They're tired of insurance dictating how they can and cannot treat. They want to be able to treat active higher level athletes, people that are active, people that are motivated, stuff like that too. So there's a lot of different ways to speak to them, but don't want to dive too much into that. But that's a big key piece, is getting the right people to fit into the systems that you have in place. When it comes to establishing systems, is you have to write down every single thing. I have a Google Drive, literally every single system, what we do, and then also a breakdown explaining why we do it. We've had a big thing is like, I'm just using cancellation policy as an example. All right. So we had a PT, they went through a training. It's a lot of training to go through. And this really woke him up that you can't just cut corners. There's a reason for every single thing that we do. And I really highlight that when any PT that comes on, there's an exact reason that we do something. Words matter. So for example, you need to make sure that you have everything laid out crystal clear and explain why. Don't just say this is why it is. You have to explain it so it really drives it home. So for example, there was a patient that called wanted to cancel. It was the same day. He had the same day appointment, tried to cancel. And we have a cancellation policy. And we state out of respect for patients that are on the wait list, and then also out of respect for your progress as well, we will have to enforce a cancellation policy. What are these are the times that we have available for next week? Which one works for you? He just said that, hey, due to company policy, we'll have to enforce a cancellation policy when you're looking to reschedule. This patient just like flipped shit. It's like company policy BS. That's horseshit. Was super pissed. I'm like, this is exactly the reason why we say it the way we do. We have to explain. It's not just that we're losing a buck here. There's because we have a wait list and there's other people. So I just want to give you an example to really drive home that you really need to have everything laid out, because if you don't, things like that are going to happen more often than not. Okay, things, no matter how well you have it systematized, things are going to happen. You just want to decrease that as much as possible. Guess what? He's never made that mistake again. Sometimes people just have to learn by doing. But the more that you have things systematized, the less likelihood of those things occurring, as well as you grow and expand. Because as you expand, you don't want quantity to start impacting quality too, which is very easy to do.
I think I want to talk towards kind of the quality of people that you bring on, because it's completely the opposite of what most people think. They think that hiring some A-player top talent is going to remove the need of them having to like spell out everything that needs to be done, when it's almost the complete opposite. If you want to attract the top talent, and we've learned this the hard way. I mean, we ran our company for the last clinical marketer is about 3.5 years old, even though we've been helping PTs for 8 years. And in the beginning, we hired so many VAs and so much talent overseas using things like Fiverr and Upwork, and thinking it's like, oh, this is like $5 an hour, and I can just like write up the system and it'll be done. For some things, that's okay. Looking for cheap options can get you to a certain point, but when it comes to trying to grow a real business that's going to create a real impact, don't be cheap. I made that wrong mistake so many times. And now in the last couple of months, we hired like 6 people, and I no longer cared how much it cost. I wanted the absolute best people, because a magical thing started to happen when I did that. Talent attracts talent. So if you have world-class people on your team, other world-class people are going to be coming out of the woodwork because they want to work with a world-class team too. And so if you want to be a world-class practice with the top-tier clientele and top-tier staff on your team, don't be cheap. Find the right people and pay them what they're worth. And in order to make that happen, in order to get good people to stick, you need to have systems documented. They need to know exactly what's expected of them. And so what level of granular detail do you actually go with the people when they first start? And how do you take them from brand new beginner? Because I'm sure you don't pay them just like out the nose right away. Do you have like a process to kind of build and ramp them up?
Yeah, absolutely. We do a 90-day period where they ramp up their part-time, and it's a trial period to make sure that, one, they feel like we're a good fit, and that we feel like they're a good fit, and then also to build up their caseload as well. So it serves those 3 purposes too. And they go through extensive training. They get Google, everything's in our Google Drive. They have a checklist that they have to complete and go through, as well as their onboarding. It's got a lot of, you guessed it, probably a lot of sales going on with that, because that's where most PTs struggle with when they come on. So we do extensive sales training. That's a big piece of their onboarding as well. But everything's video, everything's digital. They work through it at their own pace, and then I'm there to fill in the gaps and do training with them one-on-one to fill in the gaps. But guess what? I'm also filming that one-on-one gaps to fill in questions that they're asking, because I guarantee they have questions the next PT that has questions. So guess what? Now I repurpose that content the next PT that comes on, and there's less and less gaps that I have to fill as we continue to grow and expand too. So big thing is record everything. If you're doing training, I like to do training. Actually, you could do training one-on-one and videotape it, but because I'm from far, a lot of the training occurs digitally, which actually has been magical, because now it's all recorded, and I can reproduce this for any other PTs that come on and can watch it too. So saves me a lot of time and a lot of energy with bringing on other PTs and other staff.
I love it. And so when these people are just starting, obviously the expectation is you need to go through this training. But are there other expectations you're setting, and how, if you're not immediately paying them, 25 to 30% of the revenue they're bringing in, because obviously they're not bringing in any yet, how do you compensate them initially, and how do you get them motivated and excited to really over deliver when they're just getting started?
Yeah, so there's different metrics that you got to give them things to really aim for. So we give them like, these are the conversion rates that you should be hitting. These are what the PTs, this is what they expected. Give them things to aim for, because if you don't give them anything to aim for, they're not gonna get there. They're not gonna, they think they're doing a great job otherwise. Yeah, they're gonna get bored, right? And and the thing too is, if you're hiring the right people, they want something to aim for too. Otherwise, they're going to be unmotivated. People that we bring on, we want them to be high achievers, and high achievers want to have something to aim for there too. So that's the big thing, big key takeaway here is make sure you give them something to aim for with regards to metrics and what is expected, set expectations right from the get-go. Because if you don't, those things are going to be unfulfilled down the road.
Absolutely, man. I love that. Okay. So probably the first 90 days, at what point are they able to get rolling?
Yeah, so they usually get rolling. I send over the training about a week or two before they start. They are able to get through a majority of their training before they start, but the best way to learn is by doing. So we have them, we start out with just 1 or 2 days a week, and then they also observe evaluations of the current PTs to see how it's done live and in person with regards to conversions. We've got my first PT that I hired on. He's just amazing. He actually may be better at sales in person and converting patients than I am. He is awesome. And so anytime a new PT comes on, they do a couple observations for evaluations with him to fill in the gaps. And once they see that done, then we start giving them a few patients through a few evaluations to try and find their flow with everything as well. So so they start off with a week or 1 or 2 days a week, but they got the training about a week or two beforehand. Really, essentially, once they sign the agreement to come on, they get access to that training immediately that same day. And it just depends on when they want to get started and rock and roll in there too.
Nice. I have one last question about people before we kind of move on to more systemized level questions. What's your tolerance for lack of conversions or lack of performance? Do you have a kind of a line in the sand where it's like, you seem like a great fit, you went through the training, but you're not what we need? Do you have lines in the sand, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I haven't had that happen yet, knock on wood. I think if you're hiring, your systems that you have in place for hiring are good, you shouldn't be running a whole lot into that. So haven't had that happen yet, knock on wood. But yeah, I mean, every PT I brought on has been hitting those conversion rates that's asked of them. But guess what? One big key piece that helps them hit those conversion rates is that first phone call of the front desk. It also isn't always in complete control. The PT is not always in complete 100% control of that too. You have to have a good front desk that's getting good pre-sales before that patient even comes in as well. So it's making sure that you got to figure out if something's not working well. Is it actually be the PT, or is it your front desk? Your front desk isn't, is slipping up or whatnot too. So you can't always be quick to jump on the PT. And I have a little bit more leniency actually than maybe I should with regards to, I kind of handhold the PTs a little bit when they get on board. But they so far it's worked really well, and they've been hitting the metrics and all that too, what I've been asking for them. So
I love that. Now Todd says hi, Hannah says hi. Todd's got to hop off. We'll get the replay out to you. Tony Maritato, he said that he totally agrees, hire the PT first. I'd be super curious to know your rationale for it, Anthony, just because you have always such amazing and unique insight. I'd be super curious to know that if you're still hanging around. But let's talk a little bit about systems, and we'll kind of transition the two by going off of what you just mentioned about, sometimes, if a PT is not getting the conversions that they need, it could very easily be because of the front office not properly setting that call. Because that's really all the front office is. They're setters. Yep. And within our business, our setters or our specialists are the people that are basically messaging the people within our group that has to be messaged and kind of triage them. Figure out what your problems are, make sure that we can help. And then if you can't help, you get set up with a call with one of us. That's exactly what the front office does. Now, within our business, the things that we have to do, our setters have to do, is every single day they're keeping track of how many conversations they had, how many people actually turned into phone calls, and how many people got set on a call with either you or me, Ben. So I'm curious, do you have any sort of tracking or conversion tracking across your PTs or your front office?
Yep. So we're looking for at least 90% conversion rate from first visit to plan of care on that first visit. With regards to leads that come in through our website, we're hitting just in the low 70s with regards to leads that submit through our website and all that too. And that's what, not trying to brag, but I usually hit around the 80% mark, but it's okay for our PT, our front desk to be hitting around that 70%. So that's what we're trying to hit for conversions from the website to getting a patient booked. But because sales, if done correctly, you shouldn't be converting 100%. 100% of the people that reach out should not be coming through the doors. I had a talk with the front desk last week. We let a patient slip through that shouldn't have, and he was honestly, he was just an asshole. And yeah, but anyways, he shouldn't have slipped through. And guess what? The PT didn't convert, but I didn't hold the PT to not converting because he wasn't a good fit to begin with as well. So we also don't work with people that are assholes. We literally tell the front desk, do not let people that are just complete assholes and rude onto the phone, butcher that phone call. I don't want you guys, I tell my front desk, you shouldn't have to deal with that. And the PT shouldn't have to deal with that, because guess what? It's going to burn them out. They're going to be vampire patients. PTs know what that verbiage is. Drain all your energy. It's one patient that drains all your energy. And guess what? Now it's affecting the rest of the patients because the PT is burnt out from that one patient. So we don't let assholes come through the door. And we let one asshole through the door. And yeah, so you shouldn't be, bottom line, you shouldn't be converting anybody and everybody that comes through the door. So
assholes deserve help too, but they don't need to get it here.
Not my, yeah, exactly. They're not getting you my help. Like, if you can't treat somebody well that's trying to help you, we're not the thing for you.
And that's actually a sales mindset that I think everyone should walk away here with, is that a really good way to boost your own conversions is to get very comfortable with being able to turn people away. You don't need every single sale. And when you approach sales and approach those conversations in a light where, I want to help you, but I don't need to help you, and you've already turned people away in the past, you're going to sound so much more confident on the phones. And when it is a good fit, it's going to feel that much better and that much more natural. And the person on the other end of the line is totally going to feel it. Your conversions will spike.
Yep, exactly, 100%.
Don't be married to selling.
Nope.
Awesome. So tell me, you said that you want at least 10 new patients a week before you bring on a new PT. Now, walk me through a little bit of that process and how you go about just making sure that you are getting those 10 visits. Now, also, I'm going to just stack up everything and hopefully.
Yeah. I want to make one correction. It's 10 patients per month that we're looking for, because if it's over a 90-day period, 3 months, that'd be 30 patients, right? Instead of full-time PTs, it's around 30, 35. So we want to be bare minimum there. So I don't want people freaking out thinking, oh shit, I got to get 40 new patients or 40 net patients gained before I bring somebody on. So just wanted to clarify that real quick. So yeah. I know what you meant. I think it's what you said was different what you had in your head. So
appreciate that. So you want to make sure that there's at least 10 new visits a month. I want to know how you go about doing that. Obviously, you brought us on for marketing months ago before we asked you to join our team, and we're lucky that you did. But how do you go about systematizing that element of it?
Yeah, so we're tracking how many new patients we're scheduled and we're seeing. We use PT Everywhere. It's super easy to track. We can generate a report to see how many new patients we got. And then we also look at, in PT Everywhere, again, a report that's generated on how many patients had a visit that month, but don't have a follow-up visit scheduled for the next month or in the future. Those are patients that we not essentially dropped off. They could have completed their plan of care, they moved away, whatever reason, it's still a patient that's been lost. Okay, so we take new patients that have been eval minus patients that have discontinued, that had a visit this month or that past month and no longer have a visit. That gets you your net patients gained that month. Okay, what total amount you've gained or lost. If you got 10 new patients, for example, if you got 10 new leads and you lost 15, you lost technically a five net there. Okay, so yeah, so that's kind of how we track. It's a lot of it's reports generated in PTO that makes it super easy for us.
Nice. Yeah, no, PT Everywhere is a super popular one. There's also Jane App, which has been a really, really solid one. I think those are my two favorites. I thought there was a third, but it's not coming to me. But curious to know what systems are you guys using? Does anyone use PT Everywhere or Jane App on here? And if not, what are you guys using? But okay, so you have a pretty clean line in the sand for when you want to bring that person on. But I want to hear kind of the evolution of kind of your marketing on when you started to have a more systematized approach. Like, when did you know it was okay to bring on a marketer like us to help you do your stuff? Like, when should people look to bring on someone to help them do marketing?
Yeah, good question. So again, it always goes back to I run KPIs. So our KPIs are key performance indicators. It's my lifeline with regards to how healthy is the business. And before I look into investing in anything, and again, I should say use the word investing lightly, because I assume the worst when I go to invest into something and assume that this is going to get zero return. Worst case scenario, this is going to get zero return. What does that do to my profit margin? Am I still at that 15%? If this does not bring in, again, wouldn't invest in something I didn't think was going to bring in, or I suspect something that's going to bring return on investment, but I always assume the worst, hope for the best, because I prepare for the worst, I'll still be set. So I make sure that if I invest in something and it doesn't bring me back anything, that's really just an expense. So I make sure that if that doesn't bring anything back, I'm still at that 15% mark as well. So that's what I really look at to see if I can bring something on. Or invest into something else. Do you necessarily have to do that? No, but that's what I feel, where I'm in a place in my business where I feel most comfortable. Starting out, you may have to take more of a risk too. But I've never taken out a loan for people that you think to start a business you have to have loans. You have to I've never taken out a loan. And if you're running your business correctly and watching your profit margins and know your profit margins, it should never happen, in my opinion. So.
Agreed. There are some instances where it's like, okay, can make sense, but by no means is that a requirement. And I think you're kind of
goes down to leverage. It goes down to leverage too. Like, if like, hey, if I take out a loan and I'm going to get X return on this, then you can. But I think people resort to that with too early a lot of times. But yeah, if you know that your returns can be more than that interest rate, then it totally makes sense. But that's how I do things there too.
I think you're kind of the poster child. And I honestly think you're one of the first people that led to us realizing the right way to go about delegating your marketing and outsourcing your marketing. And so I'm going to ruin it for anyone who wanted to guess in the beginning. But the phrase that we live by at Clinical Marketers, you can't outsource what you yourself cannot do. It's true with your front office. You need to understand the sales process so you can map it out and hire someone and outsource it. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck at the end of the day following up with leads that are hours old, and you're going to waste a ton of time and a ton of money. So it's the exact same thing with your marketing. That's exactly what Ben did. When me and Ben's relationship first started, we obviously knew each other from the online world and saw each other around a lot. But he eventually, when he had his systems down, and I think this was after you made your first hire, you really
right after
pour the gasoline on the fire and really start to explode things. And so you didn't look to hire an agency because you know the importance of having a process and a system so that when you do hire it, there's KPIs in place, there's expectations that can be set, and you're in actual control over everything. So you learned from us first, and then you implemented, you had success, and then you came back and said, okay, I have this down. I no longer want to focus on this because I know what to expect. I know what works. Then we got involved and started running your marketing for you. I think that is so incredibly important because so many people, have you ever, before us, did you work with an agency or anything? Anybody?
Yeah, I know so many people have
Okay.
got burned. So, but I know a lot of people got burned. No, it's funny that you brought this up. I just had a conversation with Max this morning. So this is important. The piece that's important is Max, and for people that are listening, we're doing R&D, research and development, for the people in our group to make sure to see if there's any more new ad creatives that are going to perform even better. So me and Max are working that out with our clinic and mapping out what's working. And so we're testing new ad creatives and relatability statements and all that too. And this goes, big key piece is you really have to know your avatar. For me and Max had a conversation. Max put out these ads, and they were tracking decent leads. And but if I wouldn't have known my ideal avatar and what the back end systems was, I wouldn't be able to correct it. So these ads were performing pretty damn well. When Max just set him up and test him out, and we were trying to figure out how to critique it. And I gave him insight like, hey, this is our ideal avatar, and this is how the relatability statement that I think is going to work best. And so we attract higher quality leads. And so I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't first know the system and how everything works as well. So it's super, super important to know everything that's going on with your business, and not just outsourcing to just get off your plate because you don't know how to do it. You have to know how to do it to hold people accountable and make sure you have something for too. So
that's the beautiful thing, because none of it, it's not difficult. It's all super freaking easy. The beautiful thing is, it's like once you do it once you have that like system and process in place and documented, you don't need to hire someone who's going to charge you $2,000 a month. You can hire an admin who can easily just go through the checklist and knock it out. It's really, really easy stuff. It is literally step by step. You do not need to be a marketer or a marketing genius or a really good copywriter to have a ton of success running Facebook ads. It's crazy what some people can get away with, charging you by keeping practices in the dark on just how easy this stuff is. So if you are going to hire someone, I recommend learning it first, as Ben did, processing it, then outsourcing it. And that's how you become extremely, extremely scalable. You're always in a position of power, and you don't get screwed over if someone who is a really good salesman, but isn't so much a good marketer. So definitely make sure that you have a process in place to be able to effectively learn this stuff. And then once it is learned, how to scale it, ramp it up, document it. Super, super important. So I think we're running low on time here. So let's kind of recap this for everybody. Kind of where you need to start before you hire someone, and who you want to hire, and then just what systems do you want to make sure people have in place to make sure that they're not going to, the whole system isn't going to crash and have to rebuild it later on.
Yeah, so a big key thing is making sure looking at your profit margins. Again, looking at be able to bring on and hire on staff and be able to stay in those healthy profit margins. So for example, 25 to 30% of what the PT generates is what they get for their salary or pay. And so that's what's going to ultimately allow you to be able to scale in a healthy way too, because you don't want that to be any huge, like 50% of your expense there. Okay. So that's a big key piece. Backtrack there a little bit, mindset, figure out why you're doing this. Why do you want to bring on more PTs? Are you okay with managing people? Are you doing it for time freedom? What's your main motivating factor to do it? Because if you don't have your why, you're not gonna be able to get through the hard times there too. So that's kind of getting started with it there too. So
and no matter how talented the people you bring on are, they're not going to do the heavy CEO admin work that you're hoping you won't have to do by hiring the top talent. You have to document this stuff. When you hire someone who's extremely good, you're not hiring a partner. They're not going to help you knock this stuff out. They're there to do the job you hired them for. And so you have to have these systems and these processes well written out and well documented if you have any hope of keeping those people, because top talent wants to work with leaders. And so if you do want to grow a big practice, if you do want to have that big impact in your community, not just have it be kind of like, a passion of yours, but a legit scalable growing business, you need to learn how to be a leader and make sure that that all the vision that you have in your head, you can get it down on paper and other people can understand it.
Yep. Yeah. I just had a conversation with one of the PTs that is almost at the end of her 90-day ramp up, and she's going to continue on. She's a rock star. She's awesome. I just asked for feedback on how she felt that the ramp up process was and, the training process. And she's like, honestly, this has been the most comprehensive training I've ever had to go through. And it's been in a positive light. She's like, my previous jobs, I had to figure everything out. And it felt like they were just, bringing me on to fill in problems and try and figure out myself. Everything that you do has a reason for it. And I don't have to ever try and figure something out on my own. Everything's in place for me to just, roll with it and go with the things that are already in place. And so if you're doing it correctly, that's how it should be done, where your employees are like, I've got an answer to everything. I know how to handle this situation. I don't ever have to guess or figure things out. And if you bring somebody on before the systems are in place, that's how people are going to feel. They feel like, hey, this is like not a very well-oiled machine. I'm having to figure out a lot of this stuff on my own. They're going to get frustrated. They're going to get discouraged, and ultimately it's going to lead to turnover and all that too. And that's going to be your biggest expense after payroll is turnover if you don't have the right fits and the right systems in place there too. So
100%. If you want predictable growth, you need predictable results. In order to have predictable results, you need predictable processes and systems for people to follow. If it's not documented, it's not written, after that first introduction where they might have proven to you that they understand it, without a written down system where it's visible and regularly revisited, that procedure is not going to stick, and they're going to start to do less and less and less, and then the results are going to be less and less. And then you're going to wonder why you expected to be able to be at $100,000 a month and you're only at 70, because people aren't following the procedures and process you have. You have to write them down. That's actually something we're going through right now. This has been a huge growth month for Clinical Marketer. We onboarded 4 different client success staff to make sure that people are having their hands held, that they're getting the results that we're promising them within the program, to make sure that as we ramp things up, the client success rate doesn't drop. And so in order for that to happen, everything has to be meticulously documented. So the same goes for your practices as well. So was there a weekend that you just sat down and did all that stuff, Ben, or how did that go?
Yeah, I mean, there was a time I just like bulk wrote everything down, but a lot of it was as I went, like, oh, this is something that I do. I didn't realize that is actually really important to document. And I'd pull out, it's a Google Doc. I pull out my laptop and I document it and all that too, and write out the exact scripts. Like my front desk doesn't have to write any emails. He literally has all the scripts and templates. Literally, he can just copy and paste when reaching out to patients, to follow up with patients, reaching out to new leads. Literally, nothing is like, it's just, you can plug a monkey in there to do it. Like everything's so written out that you just, if they know how to copy and paste, they can send this email. They don't have to like figure out, what should I say in this email? What should I not? It's all written out. So making sure that everything is, if you go along, and that's a big thing too, is start documenting. That's the actionable stuff that you guys can do right in the way is, if you're doing something in your practice, write everything down. Okay, go through your day, document your day, and figure out what systems do you already have in place, and just start documenting them. Okay, do it for a week, and you'll be amazed on how much systems you actually have in place that you don't realize it, but you will realize it now that you're documenting it.
Yeah. And my favorite part when I started doing this, that was the hardest thing ever, to start like handing stuff off, because I was just a workhorse my whole life. Like from 19 up until 25, Max and I did everything. And then we started to learn from our coaches. It's like, start documenting, because there's a lot of stuff you're doing that's stupid, that you shouldn't be doing. And as soon as you document it, as soon as it's documented, you never have to do it again. So whether you're ready to bring on a new PT or not, start looking at the different things that you're doing on a daily basis. How many of them do you need to be doing? How many of them that if you just wrote down how to do it, you could hire some remote VA to do it for a very low cost, and then you could focus all that extra time on delivering a world-class experience, or focusing on how to get more patients in the door. Like, start documenting stuff, because it is the keys to your freedom and having some time for yourself.
Yep. Yeah. Like I was doing, we have our podcast, and I remember the time that I was editing it, I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I editing this? Like I could have my front desk do this. So what I did is I just pulled up Zoom, hit record, walked through, and I did screen recorded every single thing that I had to do to launch that podcast. That's the last podcast I've ever had to edit. So I sent it out, put it in a Google Drive, sent it over to my front desk, like, hey, this is the next thing that I'm going to offload to you. I haven't had to edit it since. So it's things like that. Like, you can be doing the moment, like, this sucks, I hate doing this. Why do I have to do this? Let's record this, and I'll send it off and delegate to somebody else that can do it. So
I think maybe an actionable thing for people to take away from my perspective, one of the things that have helped me the most, I'm sure Ben's going to have a few other things you can go and start doing right now, but I think the first thing that you can do, if you're not already doing this stuff, is track your time. At the end of every day, write down what you did that day. If you want to be really meticulous, every hour, write down, like, what did I spend my time doing this hour? And actually write down every single time you switch up a task, write down you're doing that task and document how long it took you to do it. At the end of doing this for a week, which sucks, it's actually really hard to get yourself to do it for a full week. I had to do this over and over and over again before I actually did it for a full week. And then start to realize how many things that you're doing and wasting your time on every single day that you don't need to be doing. You can very easily delegate and outsource so that you can start to focus on working on the business and not being stuck in it. But do that. And then any single item that is not directly growing the business or bringing in revenue to the business, put a red dot next to it. Any business growth activities that are on there, put a green dot next to it. Every single red dot activity you can outsource and delegate. You should start to document and systematize. I think those would be the smallest, easiest things for you to start to hand off. And then once you're done and you have all these little nuanced, silly things that you shouldn't be doing to begin with, now I think once you have those off your plate, now you're going to have time to actually be able to scale and start to manage an actual team.
Yeah, one of the things that made the biggest difference that really I thought it might happen, but I didn't realize just to what extent was I guess I could put like a name to it, maybe like creative zone of genius or something like that. When you're busy doing all these day-to-day tasks, your mind's constantly focused on something. Like my girlfriend told me the other day, she's like, how do you think of these things? Like there's a lot of things that I've just like come to my mind that never used to be able to, I used to be able to come up with like ways to improve the business or a different system that we can place to improve this. That used to not happen because I used to be so busy with the day-to-day meticulous work that I didn't actually have time to just digest it and think about like, how can I make this better as well? And making just the systems that we have in place that much better, leading to improved patient care, patient outcomes, patient experience. I would never be able to focus on those things if I was doing the meticulous day-to-day work that somebody else could do as well. So your creativity will skyrocket too when you have more time to just digest everything and think. Things will just randomly come to you. Like I was on a run today and I was like, holy crap, that's an awesome idea. Why didn't I think of that earlier? So yeah, so
I love
things like that.
Workout or a run, just running my computer like all like still like dripping sweat and have to like punch out an idea before I forget it.
I literally stopped. I did that on my run today. I was running and like, I'm writing this down. And then so it ended up me just not even finishing my run. I just walked back to back to my place and writing everything down. So it's fun.
That is one thing to be said, that once your mind starts thinking this way, it will ruin a workout every now and then. It really does.
Absolutely.
It really does.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, so basically some key takeaways, some reading material that we highly recommend. Number one is profit first. How to make sure that your numbers are aligning with the goals that you're setting within your business. This provides a step-by-step framework that is insanely helpful. I'm pretty sure Ben already said this. This pretty much is like the structure of your entire business.
Yeah, literally. That's literally like everybody thinks like these, your business financials have to be super complicated. Literally, I just tell people it's literally that book is the majority of it. Right. And then the KPIs that I generate on the Excel spreadsheet are based around those metrics and looking at those. So yeah, it doesn't have to be, keep it simple. Complex doesn't scale.
No doubt. No doubt. One other thing for you guys, The Road Less Stupid. Incredible book. It saves you from having to pay the dumb tax, which is basically trying to do things the wrong way initially by just staying busy and not taking the time to properly think. Okay, one of the key elements in this book is that you need to free up your time and stop spending your time on small tasks that are beneath your pay grade and your expertise level, so that you can focus more of your time thinking on how to improve the business and to solve the problems that are within it. And so I think between these two books, you could really transform your entire practice and make this year by far the most profitable one ever. So don't pay the stupid tax. Learn from people who have already done this stuff like Ben or for myself on the marketing perspective, and ask questions. We're extremely accessible guys. I mean, we're literally in here every single week. We have been for about the last year and a half. So if there's something that you need, if there's something that you haven't been able to figure out a solution to, let us know. Because between the two of us, we have an insane amount of experience in scaling practices. And if we don't know, we know someone who definitely does. So we're here for you guys. Anything that you need, let us know. If there's something that you would like us to do a training around, perhaps sales or different marketing strategies, let us know. Well, we'd be more than happy to do so. But Ben, anything to add? Last minute advice for people looking to scale the practice?
No, just do it. If it's what you want to do, go all in. Don't wait. You can set things. You can do stuff right now. If you know that there's possibility you want to scale, start documenting everything. There's so many things that you can do right now that you're going to thank yourself down the road for doing. as well. Even so, if you're not like ready to bring on a PT or bring on a front desk, if you're seeing 1 or 2 patients, that's it. That's fine. It means a lot. You've got a lot of time to document everything that you're doing and things that you currently have in place, and you can kind of build from that. So it's not such a daunting task when you get to the point that you want to scale and grow. So
right. You guys will never feel ready. I don't think that moment ever comes. I'm really starting to realize that.
No. I mean, on our call before we went live, I was just telling you, like, I'm starting to get into real estate investing, and like I told Jordan, like, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing, but I'm going for it. I'm going for it, and that's what I encourage everybody to do. If you're passionate about something, you want to do it, then do it. So don't wait.
Amen. Let's throw ourselves to the wolves and let compounding effort do its thing. Just don't quit. Talk to us if you're frustrated or flustered or thinking about giving up. There's a lot of different ways that we can help you guys, whether it's mindset, marketing, or systems inside your practice. But everyone, thank you so much for being here, Ben. I feel like I don't need to thank you, but damn, man, it's such a pleasure having you on these calls all the time. Thanks for always bringing the gold.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's fun. I love it.
One day we'll, yeah, whatever. Everyone, have a fantastic rest of your week. Let us know how else we can serve you, but have a fantastic week. We'll talk soon. Later.